everybody. How are you? Hey, everybody. Kind of different camera angle this week. And I'm playing this D-42 that I love this one. Feels like a lifer. Feels like one I should keep. Which means there's something I have to go. So anyway, you guys like my mug? How about that? Can you see that? It's Moses. It's the Exodus, and when you put hot water in it, like the water disappears. Yo! Yo! Hot tea. So, a bunch of people here. Joe is here. Well, yeah, this comment, I guess, came in before the live show. We'll talk about that one for sure. So it's, hey, what is it about the Huss and Dalton DRH that made you regret the purchase? That's probably my biggest clickbaity, juicy story to tell in this show. So I'll talk about that one here in a bit. Hey-oh, Jonathan Hilton Photography, thank you. Became a channel member. That's awesome. Channel members get early access to videos, get Q&As with me, and it's just a more direct line. If you have questions, comments, slanderous remarks, took a phone call with a slanderous remark yesterday. Hit a thumbs up. Thanks, Alden. Yes, please do. Hit a thumbs up if you can. Jordan Brennan. Hey, buddy. Much love from Dublin, Ireland. That's awesome. Thank you. Audio is a little poppy. It always is because of, it is literally StreamYard. So, trying to fix as much as I can. Just listening to the new Don Ross podcast. Great addition to YouTube. Oh, I need to listen to that. I haven't listened to that. Tweed Tone. Hey, Jeremy, emailed you last week of the trivia strap. Yes, sorry. No, you got it. I just have to film a video. I got the last thing. I have to film a video with him before I sent. I probably was a little vague on that. But I will film that thing on Monday because I finally got the last couple things that I need. Let me show you. I'll give you a little sneak peek of the video idea for next week. So, okay. There are the guitar straps. Alright. So, the video for next week is just going to be like treating yourself. The details that matter that you should take care of yourself with. So it's going to be, some of it is going to be like these Judd cables. These are handmade cables in Richmond, Virginia. And so I'm going to feature these. These literally just came in the mail today, and I'm going to give away some patch cables and a couple other cables, some guitar cables from them. And then these three, sorry, this is super noisy, I know. Then I'll give away these two. I'm going to keep this one for my Blackguard. But I'll give away these straps from Bluebell. So sorry, I didn't get them sent this week because these cables got delayed. I thought when I gave these away last week that I would be able to get those the next day or so, film a video this week and send them out. I haven't. I'm sorry. The other one is, and I literally have to send these two, which are the Honey guitar picks. So Honey picks, these are another great thing. I mean, these are so exciting and fun. I've been playing with them the last week or so, 2 weeks. So anyway, all of that will happen. So, yeah. Jordan, you playing that makes me want to sell everything. Me too. In order for me to keep that, I have to sell a bunch of stuff. So, hang on. Lots of comments. It's exciting. So good to see. People from Ottawa. Ed Sparks is here. Ed has made one of my favorite things I've ever received in the guitar playing space. And it is this. It's a little model of my Guild M20, which I have another M20 for sale now. It's a Sunburst one, but yeah, I just am so humbled by this gift, and it stays here on my desk, and I see it every day. Hello from Ottawa. Hello from Fuerteventura. Nope, no, I'm not gonna try it. Just popped in to say hello. Hey, Matt. How are you, buddy? Ottawa. When are you going to review the Boxwood guitar? I'm dying to hear it. I'm dying to play it. It just got shipped yesterday. So the Boxwood guitar should be here from Mr. Steve himself. Should be here, I would bet, middle of next week, I think. And I cannot wait. Here it is. The new Taylor 724 is killing me. Just bought a Koa 314. Oh, man. Unfortunate timing. It's like when you finally commit to an iPhone or whatever, and then they announce, like, the new, later, greater one that's better and cheaper and, you know. But, dude, those are awesome. I wish they were gloss. I mean, Koa with gloss finish. Humana. That's a great guitar. So, Staley, what did you say, Staley? You said something. Hey, Sonia's here. Staley, I'm good, Jeremy. How are you? Hi, how are you? Yep. Lots of comments. I'm excited. Somebody from Richmond. Hello from Richmond. Hey, these guitar cables. Do you know Judd? So Judd makes these cables. They're great Nutric cable ends and then really good quality cables. I also went for all funky colors because to me, having a different color cable than everybody else makes it way easier to like set up, pack up, you know, go through anything. If your stuff isn't working, you can quickly find. So for me, for the last years, I've always used either red or white cables, and it's been really easy. Treat yourself. Yep. So Tweed Tone says, no worries, man. Love your channel, and I seriously learned a lot as a college student at JMU. Where are those cables from? These cables are from Richmond. They're from Judd Mason, and they're called Judd cables, and they're super nice, really good quality. Yeah, there's a great, like, there's teal, there's orange. Is there orange? No, there's yellow, red, blue, green. A BTW, Ozone do a plug-in, the great. Okay. Yeah, so I have checked, like, literally, it is not my microphone, my cable, my Apollo, my computer. It is literally StreamYard, and each week I just forget to kind of work through, like, it's not until Thursday afternoon I'm like, oh crap, I didn't find a solution to StreamYard. Anyway, so we're gonna start talking about regretting guitars that we sold. And also regretting guitars that we bought, which I have many fewer of those. But anyway, we'll talk about them. So I regret selling my Gibson Birdland. Oh man, I'm sorry. Hayden, you're gonna love the dude. I have not been this excited for a guitar in a long time, and I'm in the rarefied air of every week I get 2 or 3 guitars, it seems. So anyway, So, this little logo there by his name means that Jonathan is a new channel member. So Jonathan says, I'm trying to avoid buyer's remorse. Have any thoughts on an expensive Martin Lux liquid metal bridge pins for a D41? So you bought the pins and you feel buyer's remorse about the pins? Or you feel buyer's remorse about the D41? I'm trying to avoid buyer's remorse. Anyone have any thoughts on the expensive Martin Lux liquid metal bridge pins for a D41? They are really awesome. They look cool. They sound cool. And they're a fun, like, tactile thing to hold and use. Sometimes they add a little more, like, brightness and clarity to a guitar, which for some guitars, they really need that. For others, it might exaggerate a thing that you're not super happy about. So, yeah, Fraylin is in Richmond too. Hello from Cincinnati. Love the channel. Is the M20 going on your site? It is. It's right over there. I'll get it real quick. Oh! Remain calm. Oh boy. And we're back. So this is like a minty M20 with sunburst. Oh. Anyway, yeah, this is a really cool M20. This belongs to my friend Terry, and I've been trying to sell it for him, and I don't know why. I don't know why it hasn't sold, but it will be on the website. But if you want it, I'm asking $1,200 for it, and I can cover shipping. I'll throw in some merch and swag with it. But what did Joseph say? Joseph says, I regret selling my Gibson L200 Emi-Loop. Man, that's a cool one. That's kind of a bummer to yeah. So, have I done any work with the Nathan E. Wright Lutherie yet? It is right here. And this is, I mean, it is one of the best sounding guitars I've had maybe ever. But I decided yesterday that it's time for me to move this one. So if you're interested in this one, I'm going to sell this one as well. Has amazing maple back and sides. And it really is one of the best sounding. So I took the pickguard off of it. That's the big one. Then I cleaned it up. But under the pickguard, there were a couple little things that are now, you can now see. So this guitar has some play wear on it now. And but I think, to me, this is a $3,000 guitar, $2,500. So let's make a deal on it. If you're interested in this, yeah. What else? John Washburn says, my wife is from Richmond, Missouri. Kind of the same. My father's grandparents are from Patrick County, Virginia. An Iris DF. There's a bunch of people watching from Facebook. That's exciting. So an Iris DF, watched your review 1,000 times. I'm so torn on what your gut feeling, yes or no. It was the best sounding guitar I had last year. It is my favorite guitar that I've found other than the Waterloo. I think the Iris DF, and for the price, like under $2,500. I mean, I think they're 23. They probably went up this year, but I mean, the Iris guitars are so good. Yes, Louis Lamb. Yep. Wait, is this Bill? Was just jamming on a Mahogany Dread myself. Yeah, so lots of kids, or lots of people from Facebook watching today. Here's a YouTube one. I don't mind the popping. My mom and dad had a Dish receiver that made all the pictures snowy. And refused to contact Dish about it because they're afraid of it. Well, that doesn't make me feel better. That's so annoying. It is so annoying. Because I literally spent thousands of dollars for this setup. And it's still popping. So that drives me crazy. So anyway, so let's talk about regret and guitars that we regret selling. It is Bill, and Tom is here. And Tom Dill, there's another channel member and patron and good friend and fellow guitar buyer. Tom's been on a friggin'... What all did you... He told me... He was like... Yesterday I asked him if he wanted to buy something. He's like, well, in the last couple months I've bought... And he listed like 8 really cool things that he's gotten. So... The pop. Maybe it's my plosives from being close to... I'll move the mic a little farther away. There we go. That's what I'll do. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So maybe it's just my plosives. Yeah, StreamYard, hit or miss. And I don't have I need to find another good solution. Do you have do any of y'all use, or do you know of another one that would be a good fit? Anyway, yeah, stuff going on this week. I do have to wrap the show pretty much at 3 o'clock because we got a doctor's appointment after this. But I did not get a tattoo this week. I know you were fooled with my great photoshopping. But I want to talk about guitars that I regret selling and guitars that I regret buying. So I have a list of mine. I want to hear from you guys along the way. For me, when I think about my preamble to this and the opening to this, is that I have found myself, there are different reasons that would make you regret selling a guitar. For me, the guitars that I regret selling, most of them come from times in which I had to choose between being responsible and taking care of my family or keeping guitars, which I don't know how we would not have made it if I kept the guitars. So there are a couple times I've had to have like a great sell-off where everything gets sold, and that's not fun. So anyway, let's jump in and I'll start talking about some of these guitars that I have sold over the years and how it's just quite unfortunate. So the number one guitar that maybe not number one, but first up is that I regret selling is my 2001 Martin 0016 SGT. This is a really rare guitar. It's actually really cool, and it's a 16 series. So I bought this for $650 in a practice room at Shenandoah University in Winchester, Virginia. This is like one of the first guitars I bought on my own. I was 18, I think. And I found it on Craigslist. The guy was selling it in West Virginia. Let's meet it in Winchester. And it's many things happened in this deal that I shouldn't have done. Like, I met the guy. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I got like 40 minutes down the road and I realized I forgot the cash at my house. So I had to turn back around. So I was so late. And it was just really rough. But I got this guitar for $650. This was my first 12 fret guitar. This was my first slot head guitar. And this is the one that I've mentioned before. I was playing it out at a show and somebody came up and they're like, "It's so cool you put steel strings on your classical." And I get it, but it also was kind of annoying. But so I missed this one. I sold it for $900. No, I sold it for $1,000. So I made plenty of money on it. But I missed it for a long time. And it's what kind of kept me chasing this kind of peanut shaped, bigger body kind of thing. So Ed says that he made a miniature for Dan Erlewine of the Iris DE model, and the same one from Iris owner of Iris Guitars for Adam. That's awesome. It is such a cool gift, and we're talking about this the last time. I'll mention it this show, I guess. But my little like replica of my M20. That's a guitar that I regret selling. But that was like, I had to sell that guitar in order to keep doing YouTube stuff and kind of keep momentum going. What? Patrick's never sold a guitar? Gave away my first guitar, no regrets. I regret not buying some stuff. Epic Casino, Worn Olive. Shouldn't have passed on that. You never sold a guitar. That's crazy. So in the end with this Martin 000, it's such a cool guitar. It first kind of turned me on to smaller bodies, 12 fret slot headstocks. Mine had Waverleys, which is crazy. It was also my first guitar with like nickel aged tuners and kind of tarnished, and I thought it was so cool. So yeah, made plenty of money, but I quickly realized that I shouldn't have sold it after I sold it, and then it was too late to get it back, and then I couldn't find others. And so then, another one I really regret, you're going to see a theme. This is not the last Martin you're going to see on this list. Turns out I regret selling pretty much every Martin that I've ever sold. So I regret selling this 1970 Martin D1235. I just loved this guitar. It was a 12 fret, a 12 string, bought it from a pawn shop in New Orleans, and it just sounded amazing. Now, this one also went to a Bozo. I sold it one time and the guy was like, "There's a crack on here and you hid it from me." And it was one of the first things that made me think like, reverb sucks. I think I'm going to leave reverb. This one, it was this and then an SG and then a Gibson ES 175 that eventually ended in me like quitting reverb, and I haven't really gone back. I sell a couple things on reverb. No guitars in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years. I sold a J45. I think was my last guitar I sold on reverb. But another guitar that I really miss was my 1970 Gretsch 7117. Now, this was one of the ones that everyone said should be terrible, but I loved this one. This one had a really cool old Gretsch case. It was very much a transitional, but still was made in Arkansas, which is the worst time for Gretsches, according to everyone on the internet. This one had case rot, so all the binding was broken off, but it had a really cool Bigsby. It's the only guitar I've ever owned with a Bigsby. And it just sounded so cool. And Yeah, one volume, one tone, master volume, and then a pickup selector and a tone switch. Like the two up here, master volume, volume tone. And it was a really great guitar. I was in it for nothing. I was in it for $200, and I sold it for $1,200. That's the blinking light that always gets me in trouble, is when I can see how much money I can make off of something over what I have in it. Let's see. Badura had a question. Jeremy, what do you think of installment plans on guitars? Are there any traps I should be aware of? They are all traps. You should not use credit to buy guitars. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. I think that debt is dumb. I think you're inviting chaos into a passion, and that's not a good idea. You're also bringing financial stress into it. Also, even if you're not paying interest, you're gonna pay more for the instrument right away. So anyway, yeah. Oh, Aaron says, hey, buddy, I have many regrets. No, I hope that's not true. I have many guitars that I regret selling, but I think I've learned some thematic things about me and what to do and how to hang on to guitars and all that. So, Gary Costello says, thanks for your channel. My regret sales a 59 Duosonic, a 64 12-string Hummingbird. Lesson learned, I acquired a 34 Gibson LO1. It's staying in the family. That's awesome. Badura's second question is, some models aren't available on Sweetwater. How do I order a specific model that I want from them? I don't know. I don't buy many new guitars. And because of that, because I buy used guitars, I'm far more opportunistic than I am specific. And so I find the guitars that are available, like this D41 custom or D42 custom shop that I'm getting, the opportunity's right. I probably wouldn't have bought that guitar new, but now that I can get it for a discount and I can get it. So anyway, the deferred interest is what you got to be careful for regarding financing of a guitar. Yeah, deferred interest, but also just like your financial life. The best way to build a guitar collection is to have financial stability. And the best way to have financial stability is to make a plan, stick to it, avoid borrowing money. Not avoid, but don't borrow money other than big things like a house. Anyway, you can certainly do it. Plenty of people do it. But for me, it just feels like I'm threatening the thing that gives me relief from stress. I'm adding stress to the thing that makes my life less stressful. So anyway, there's a triple O slot head on Reverb now for $950. That's awesome. Ed says, I've only sold one guitar in 40-something years. That's why I have about 40 instruments, 25 or so are acoustic guitars. Oh, and my wife is an enabler. That's funny. I don't my wife is a minimalist, a hardcore minimalist, our house and our life. And it's brought great meaning to our life, having very few things, and each thing has a place and a purpose and a meaning. And if it doesn't have those things, if it doesn't have a place, if it's always on the counter, it gets thrown away. And then you're upset for a day or two. And then you're like, oh, wow, life is way better when I don't have to move that thing to figure other stuff out. So I have the most guitars now I think I've ever had. But we're getting fuzzy between what's mine and what the business is and what's other. Well, it's not fuzzy what guitars are other people's that I'm selling for them. Ooh, I regret getting into flipping because I get guitars that are so hard to let go. Right now I have a Guild F50R, a Guild JF30 Sunburst, and a Gibson CL30, and I have no business owning at the same time. But hopefully you've got some momentum and some equity in them to where, hey, yes, I have this guitar and it's worth $4,500, picking that number out of the air, or $2,000. But I only have $1,100 actual dollars into it. So hopefully that's helpful. Regret buying your Esteban? Yes, as you should. You have a custom shop with a Bigsby, or you have a Bigsby custom shop? Oh, God, a Gibson custom shop. I read that as a Martin. Aaron, don't you have a signature Martin? You wish you still had? Didn't you have a signature? You had a signature Martin? I didn't know that. Yeah, selling the Martin OM28 John Mayer was a huge mistake. Yeah, talking to Tyler, the OMJM collectors, whatever that group is, whatever his Instagram is. But Staley says, yeah, I used a Guitar Center credit card for my first Breed Love acoustic, and I've not regretted it. I knew I could afford the guitar when I bought it, i.e. had savings. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a gamble, and I don't want to, like, I'll just answer for me. Having money in the bank versus having zero money APR, the likelihood of me, like, I don't know, the likelihood of me taking, slipping up and missing a payment or whatever and then activating some of the interest has always stressed me out. So anyway, another guitar that I really miss selling, and this is me in a banana suit when I was like 21 or 22 years old. And I'm sure I could find a closer picture, but this is my 1960 Guild D40. This was my first vintage guitar, and it was horribly, horribly refinished. Had incredibly high action, was so hard to play, but I loved this guitar. And so it was a super cool dreadnought, mahogany back and sides. Probably it was a Sitka spruce top. It was very tight grained, but I loved this guitar, and I miss it. And but at the same time, I couldn't get anyone to fix it because it had a 5-piece neck. So anyway, another guitar, and this is one that I genuinely makes me sad that I sold, and I will never get it back. Like, I've tried to track this guitar down, but I sold it when I was in New Orleans, sold it to a guy in Seattle. I sold it to the guy in Seattle, and then very quickly he sold it to somebody in the Midwest somewhere, like Montana, Idaho. Maybe that's just the West, not the Midwest, but it's gone. Just, the case goes cold. And so this was a 1961 Gibson J50. This was a gift from my boss when he gave me a gift that was a deal. I bought this guitar for $1,200, and it had a big crack on the back and a patch that he had fixed. And what's so cool is it had like a 1-inch by 2-inch like rectangle missing in the back, and it had just been damaged. I don't know how it was damaged, but it was a 64 Gibson J160E, like John Lennon's, that was totally destroyed, and the back was okay. And so there was a piece of the back, not the whole back, but there were pieces of the mahogany from the back. So the color matched and the grain matched from this J160E. So I like that guitar a lot. I wish I wouldn't have sold it, but I sold this when I was in a full commission sales job. I was in oil and gas. So I was in health and safety, and I specialized in heavy industry like oil and gas. And in like 2015 or 2016, oil prices bottomed out, which they were great for everybody else. Like, do you remember that stretch when gas was like $1.30, $1.40 a gallon? But for me, I was selling health and safety instrumentation, and as soon as that happened, there was an 8-month stretch where I only made a couple $100s a month. And so we were just living on savings, and life was super stressful. We had 2 little babies. And so I started looking around, and I sold a bunch of guitars before this one, but I got to where I sold everything. I did not have an acoustic guitar for almost 2 years. Yeah. I still had a D-35 when I sold this one, but it was painful. Yeah, the transition of this. When you buy vintage guitars, do repaired cracks push you away? No, but they definitely affect value. So you have to kind of pay attention. But yeah, so I sold my Gibson, nope, hang on down here. I sold my Gibson J50, and it's gone. I'm never going to find it again. So that's where, like, a guitar that I would really love to own is another round shoulder, slope shoulder Gibson from the 50s or 60s. And I just haven't found the right one yet. I think a country and western would do really well for me. Maybe a Southern Jumbo. I'm excited to get that Southern Jumbo, even though it's a square shoulder, back from Danny. Probably next week, he said it'll be done. And so when we do, I'll see if that one gives me the fizz. But another guitar that I'm so angry, like, there are some that I'm disappointed that I sold, some that I wish I would have kept. This one, I'm like genuinely like, what is wrong with me? Why did I sell it? I had a 1991, 1960 dot reissue Gibson ES335 that I bought for $1,200. And again, it was like, I didn't make a bunch of money. I only made like $8 an hour at the guitar shop, but that $8 an hour came with the benefits of, I would get, substantial discounts on guitars that came into the shop. So this one in particular, this was, ooh, my hand goes behind it. But yeah, so this one I found and was just everything that I wanted in a 335. I wanted a big hollow body. I wanted a black finish. I wanted the aged nickel. It was in a pink, like a brown and pink case. And I sold this one to a guy for $2,900, which I made great money on it. So I made $1,700, but I sold it for $2,900 to a guy in Charlottesville, and I was trying to buy his Rockbridge. He had a Rockbridge Dreadnought and another one. I was trying to buy 2 guitars and do some trading, but it didn't work out. So the guy ended up just buying my 335. He had a Henderson, but it was like a super broken Henderson. Anyway, this guitar, this one also, it caused an issue. It was me being really immature. I was probably 19 or 20 when I sold this, and my boss was really offended and really hurt that I would sell this because it was a deal that he gave me, and I sold it. I got it at a guitar shop for a deal, and then I sold it to somebody else outside. And it put a rift in our relationship, and it's still, I think that me getting rid of this guitar, I think, is why. So the guy who taught me so much of what I know about guitars is Warren. He was always so kind and so good to me, and I was just an idiot young kid working for him, excited, but I just did not think things through. And so I sold this, and there were a couple guitars that I just would buy from him, and I would sell or trade or, do stuff on the side. And so it really hurt his feelings. And now, he keeps up with the 2 other guys that worked at the guitar shop. He keeps up with the 2 other guys at the guitar shop that we worked with. But he doesn't answer my phone calls. He doesn't return my text. He'll return a text every now and then. And, it's pretty hurtful, but I definitely was in the wrong for sure. And, I don't know. Anyway. This one I hurt my mentor a lot, and that bums me out. Hey, did you work at Guitar and Amp? I swear I know you from somewhere. I did work at Guitar and Amp Center. I worked there for 7 years, from 2005 to 2012. Well, now I took about a year off in the middle of there. I went to James Madison University. But yeah, I worked at Hometown Music. No, I worked at Guitar and Amp Center, and that's funny. SW. So I don't know who this is, but it is fun kind of seeing people. Yeah, so I worked there for a long time, and it's Warren who owned that shop that I sold that 335. And yeah. Have you ever owned or would want to own a guitar before 1900? I have. I've owned one, and it was a Martin. I believe it was a Martin 217. It was in a skeleton case. It came in the Guitar and Amp Center one day, and I ended up buying it with my own money for Warren because we didn't have enough money in the safe. So I went to the bank and got money out, came back, bought this guitar from a guy, and I think I only paid $700 for it. It was only worth maybe $1,200 or $1,500, but it was crazy. But anyway, that sucks. You should try to find the ES335 and buy it for him. I don't know. I don't think so. So Warren isn't a guitar player. He owned a guitar shop. I also, if you're familiar with Enneagram stuff, he's an Enneagram 6. So he is deeply loyal, and so what I did was I directly was disloyal to him, and it hit him. It hurt him in a place that is the most sensitive. And so it bums me out. And for me, I'm an Enneagram 2, which is everything's about relationships. And so for me, I'm this soft, gooey center. And I just want to call him and say I'm sorry. He also lives kind of far away, and maybe I'm making all this up. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and this is probably maybe not the right place to air it. But it bums me out. It's the most I've hurt somebody relationally in the guitar space, I think. Do you like the Martin OMJM? It's fine. The neck is too narrow for me. It feels like an electric guitar, which that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be. But the 1 11/16 gets me. I just don't see why they're so expensive. They're okay. And John Mayer is still cool and relevant. He's probably one of the better Martin artists. But yeah, it's okay. A two makes sense. Yes, when I talk about music and friendship. Yeah. I think this is important to understand, Jeremy, regarding Warren. Yeah, man. That's the stuff that bums me out. That's like, didn't expect that. Like, that's the real regret. Is that a person who, I mean, he worked so hard to give me a job, teach me so much, and I was just really disrespectful. There were two guitars, for sure. It was this and a Martin OM21 that I bought from him, and then I sold the other one. And it didn't even hit me that I was in the wrong then. And it was a couple years later when somebody brought it up, like one of the other guys that I worked for brought it up, and then I realized two things. I realized, one, people have been talking about this and they know that it's a thing, and I totally missed it this whole time. And so, yeah, it was rough. So another guitar that I really regret, I regret having this one stolen. It's the only guitar I've ever had stolen, and and this isn't actually it. This is the closest picture I can find of one. The one I had didn't have a pickguard, but this is an early 1990s Stelling D-42. They called it something else, but this was Jeff Huss making guitars with Stelling banjos before Huss and Dalton. But I had an opportunity to buy one. I just decided I was going to buy it, and I got it, and I let a guy borrow it for a couple days, and it got stolen out of his apartment. And the person who took it, like, they took all of his guitars, but they didn't take any of the cases, which I always thought was weird. But this guitar was just gone, and the police then said, like, oh, well, you can sue your friend. My friend just was like, I don't have any money, I don't have any insurance, I'm sorry. So it was just gone. And so that one bums me out. I have a Gibson, or I have a Reverb and eBay notification for these when they do pop up. This one's for sale now, but it's not quite the same as what I had, and I just don't think I'm ever going to quite find another one. The one that I had was a red spruce top, East Indian rosewood back and sides, and had pearl everywhere. But it wasn't snowflakes. It was a little different than this. Another Martin that I regret selling is my first Martin D-15. I meant to go through, I've been meaning to go through and find my old high school yearbook, because in it there's a picture of me with my brother, and we each have like just chicken blonde, like bleach blonde hair, and we're both super into punk rock. We have like big aviators on and wristbands, and I'm standing in my kitchen with him, and I'm playing a D-15. And this is one that I mowed so many yards to buy this guitar. And I traded it for a Peavey XXX. I think I traded it even, which was fair, but still bums me out. Yeah. Thoughts on a Gibson Advanced Jumbo? They're great guitars. They're really fun. They have a longer scale length, so they feel more firm under your hands. They're not as like slinky as a J45. But the Advanced Jumbo is really cool, especially the authentic, what do they call them? The historic ones from Gibson. They're so good. They're so cool. Yeah. Awareness. You would not be who you were if you hadn't had that experience. It's true. Yep. It's true. Many of the things that make you better and make you who you are, you wouldn't, if you had any heads up, you would not have signed up for. Like, if you knew what would be asked of you in your life, you wouldn't sign up. But like for me, I think about like my own heart condition, my mom dying, having heart surgery, all those things. The mistakes you make to other people. So Staley's a 6. You loyal man, you. If you don't know the Enneagram, it's too much to learn. But stuff I regret buying. Stuff that was just disappointing when I got it. I bought a Peavey XXX a couple years ago in Louisiana. I got it for $275. And I got it thinking, like, this will be so fun. It's like a poor man's dual rectifier. And then I got it, and it was just, like, it was just the wrong moment. Like, that moment in my life of playing, like, super chuggy, super shreddy stuff was just gone. And so, anyway, this is one that I regret. I regret buying. I made some money. I sold it for probably $350 if I remember. I worked at a medical clinic at that point, and I remember I sold it to a guy. I was like, hey, can you come by? And I literally sold this to a guy in a, where were we? We were in the front waiting room at the medical clinic, which is weird. You know, people are leaving, and then I literally like haul this thing out of my office, and it's just like trucker lady. So not my finest moment. Another guitar that I really regret selling, and this is, I don't regret out of any nostalgia, I regret sheerly because of how much money these are now selling for. I sold an Epiphone ES333 Tom DeLonge for $750, and I was on cloud nine because I paid $400 for it. So I was like, I made $350. This is the best. And now these are selling for how much are these selling for? $2,000 or $3,000 now. I forget. I just looked this up a couple weeks ago, but they're going for crazy money. Now, all that to say, they're not actually that great of a guitar. They don't sound that good. They have the Dirty Fingers pickup that's so hot that it kind of makes your amp have no chill. But anyway, I missed out on this one. I think all those who used to play metal and hardcore have those Peavey, Laney, Randall amps we regret obtaining with gear that was actually worth owning. That's really true. I traded a Martin D-15 for a Peavey XXL. What else did I trade? I had a Kirk Hammett that was really cool, an LTD. But yeah, I kind of miss all that stuff. This is another one. I have two more. So this one is it's very obscure, and I want to be very careful. I'm not saying anything about this brand. Fairfield Circuitry, I bought a Shallow Water when they first came out. They were expensive, like $300. And I got it because it had some amazing videos just showing it's so warpy and warbly and crazy. And then I got it, and it did nothing that the videos and the demos led me to believe that it would do, and it was so much harder to use than I thought. And so I was just kind of frustrated by this pedal and ended up returning it. Anyway, not worth talking about too much. But anyway, the last piece of gear and this is for Joe. Hang on. No, it's not. Wait a second. Okay, I've got another one above here. Hold on. Okay. I regret buying this 1962 Martin D18. Now, we didn't talk about this. This is one that I bought at the very, very beginning of my YouTube career. This was more because I owned a guitar shop at that time. I bought this thinking I could, have it for a little bit and make a couple $100. It was a 62 D18 that I was able to get for $2,000, and I bought it on Reverb. And when I got it, the pictures, and this is the actual guitar, and there were actual pictures that came from it. I went through my Reverb listings and found this picture today. But this guitar, it looked amazing in the pictures, and when I got it, it was I could tell that they had so specifically taken pictures, because see how it's like not a straight on angle, it's like kind of laid back. They did it so that they would not catch the glare off of the amount of overspray that this guitar has. So it looks like this like super old, crazy, wonderful, worn, 60s D18, but all of it is like mirror finish, and it was oversprayed with polyurethane, not even lacquer. And so this guitar was so bad once I got it, and I asked Reverb to back me up, and they said, well, it is as described. I was like, no, it is not. In the description, none of it said anything about overspray. It said all original. It said, lots of playware, but it was tons of finish work. And so with this guitar, I ended up having to fight Reverb so hard to get them to refund this guitar. And so I eventually got my money back minus a $200 restocking fee, but I'd rather take a $200 loss and not have this bone anchor of just a turd of a terrible guitar hanging around. Oh, that one gets me fired up. That one was so bad. Staley says, I regret not buying the first D35. That really resonated with me, pun intended. Want to say it was like $2,700 at that time? That sounds about right. What are your thoughts on the Takamine G series? I don't know them very well. Takaminis are fine to me. I typically get in trouble when I talk about Takaminis. I haven't been around very many of them. So they're okay. They're not, especially when you get into expensive ones, they're just not, in my experience, they're not as good as other guitars could be at that same price point. I'm just realizing something. Okay. my camera settings. Anyway, do you regret running a guitar and music business? Bit wider spectrum question here, but answer if you want to. Do I regret running a guitar shop? I do, I think. It was so hard. It was not at all what I expected. And the way that I came into owning a guitar shop through a very strange set of circumstances. I was a salesman, and I was covering a large territory, but I had a lot of spare time. Like, my job didn't take... I had really worked out how to market and sell, so I had plenty of spare time. So the word started getting around in South Louisiana that I knew how to sell a bunch of guitars. And so I ended up getting recruited or kind of asked to help sell a couple large collections of guitars. One was Jimmy Foster, who was an amazing guitar builder in New Orleans. I never met him, but I ended up having to go and clean out his warehouse, clear out his storage, and then the stuff. So it was his stuff went to another guy's house. And then a little bit after that, the guy who owned that collection then passed away. So all of a sudden I had Jimmy Foster stuff that I'd helped move into a warehouse, and then Jimmy Foster stuff that came from this other guy, and to John Prendergast. And so John passed away, and then his wife asked if I would help clear out their barn, sell stuff. And so that's when Rude Guitars, Evan Dowie from Rude Guitars, he and I went through, and he took a bunch of the stuff because there was a lot of guitar building materials. So lots of Carina, lots of Limba, lots of mahogany. And so anyway, I ended up basically having about 140 or 150 guitars that needed to be sold. And so it was, I had a couple options. Number one, I could get a storage unit and just stack up the guitars, but this is South Louisiana, and I didn't want to do a storage unit because the ones that I could find, they weren't climate controlled, and so that seemed like a really bad idea to damage the guitars, because it was also like coming into summertime. It's South Louisiana, so it was like February. So by February, it's back into the 80s, sometimes in the 90s. So anyway, so it was cheaper for me to get a business, to get like a storefront downtown. So I got a storefront on the second floor. Actually, Mark Dugan, who's sometimes here, he lives in Covington, Louisiana, and he was one of the first people to ever come to my guitar shop. So I ended up getting a place because it was so much cheaper to have just an office downtown. So I moved my office for all the sales stuff into one side of this building, and then on the other side of the building was a guitar shop. I hired my friend Bo, who's now on tour with, what's his name? What is his name? Jared James Nichols? Is that his name? So Bo worked at Carter Vintage. Anyway, Bo was in high school. I got him to work for me. He ran the guitar shop for a while. But it never quite got off the ground. Like, we got everything set up. We started selling money and doing all that stuff. But yeah, so we, owning a guitar business was super stressful. I ended up selling everything, and I made plenty of money, but it never took off. Like, it's so hard to get a business off of the ground. And so I do regret some of those things for sure. Yeah. Greg Oakes, buying guitars without trying them out, unless you really know what you're doing, and paired with really know how to fix anything that could be wrong with them, probably not. Have you ever tried one of those smart guitars from Lag? I haven't. I have a smart guitar from Enya, the Enya Next G, and I think it's a bit nonsense. It's just not a good guitar. Okay, so the last one we should talk about is the guitar, and I meant to take that background out of this picture, but I regret buying my Huss and Dalton DRH Custom, and it is nothing because of the quality of the guitar, but here's what happened, and I've told this story before, and you've probably heard this, and if you've gone through Right Guitars Faster, I talk about, and I find this guitar, and I end up showing this guitar now compared to where it was when I first bought it, because, anyway, here's the story. I had a bunch of money, because remember that 335 that I sold that I hurt my boss's feelings by selling, and anyway, we talked about that. I sold that guitar for $2,700, and I'd been saving money on other guitars, and I had enough money. I had $4,200, and I decided I was going to buy a Huss and Dalton. So I went to Huss and Dalton, and I did the tour, and I said what I wanted. I said I wanted a DS or I wanted a TDM, which is like basically I wanted a J45 or a D18. And they said, well, we don't actually sell directly, so you have to go to our closest, like you have to work through a guitar shop, a retailer. And so I was like, okay, well, who's closest? There was somebody across the mountains in Charlottesville, Virginia. It was Heinz Musitronics. They are now out of business. They went out of business in probably 2013 or something. But so Heinz, I went over there, and the guy from Heinz was this big bluegrass player, and he was so excited I was getting a Huss and Dalton. He's like, all right, man, well, here's what you need to do. You have to get a big sound hole, and you have to get a red spruce top, and you need to get East Indian rosewood back and sides. You should get maple binding, and you should get the smaller headstock on the TDM, or on the newer, the modern, the DM Custom, or the DR Custom, rather than, you know, a TDM or a TDR. And so he just kind of, and I just got excited about this guy being excited about guitars. And so I ended up just committing to buy it. And so I ended up getting a DRH Custom with red spruce top, no aging toner, large sound hole, rosewood back and side, small headstock. And I got it, and literally from the first time I saw it, I was bummed. I was so sad because it was so like paper white. Like it literally was like as white as okay, hyperbole. But it was like a sheet of paper. It was so white, and I didn't like how it looked. And yeah, so then I picked it up on a Friday morning. Friday evening, I led a Bible study, and I went and I played guitar. I brought that guitar with me to lead worship. And when I started playing, people were like, I can't hear you. And they're like, your guitar's so loud. And literally the guitar was too loud for like a group of 15 people to hear over. I couldn't sing over it. I also ended up, I was sitting in like a leather chair, and I was like turned, like my knees were straight, my body turned, and I literally like threw out my back. So I like had this guitar that I was super bummed about. I couldn't hear, or people couldn't hear me while I was singing. And then I threw my back out. And so for a couple days, I just sat around and played this guitar and thought like, oh man. And it never even occurred to me that I could have returned it. I think all sales were final. But I just took it on the chin, and I was like, okay, like it's just not quite my guitar. And I tried for years to kind of learn to love that guitar, and I never could. And so when I got married, my wife and I were planning on moving to Louisiana, and we needed some money. So I was like, well, where do we come up with money? And I was like, okay, I'll sell my Huss and Dalton. And I shopped it around and tried to sell it as hard as I could. I reached out to everybody I knew that was trying to buy guitars, and I sold it to a friend of mine who's a studio musician in Nashville. I sold it to him for $2,650. So I lost, basically by the time I paid taxes, I lost $2,000 on this guitar. And I've only lost money on two guitars. One was that Guild D40, and then the other one was this one. And it bummed me out so bad. In the years since that happened, that guitar went to my old guitar teacher, Eric, who lives here in Harrisonburg, and he still has it. And so if you go through Write Guitars Faster, which is the course that I've made on how to buy and sell and collect guitars, it's in there. And so I borrowed that guitar and I restring it, and I kind of walked through like, is this guitar still wrong for me? And I think it still is, but it's an amazing guitar. It has really chilled out. I've also changed a lot, but it's still not quite the right guitar for me. But I'm so, like, Eric has told me every time I've run into him, he's like, I have not doubted for an instant that was the right guitar for me. He's like, it is perfect. And so Eric loves it, and he's used it on a ton of studio stuff. And so anyway, so for me, I like this. I'm glad that I got that guitar. In the meantime, I don't like that I lost $2,000 for it, but I learned many lessons from it. Like, don't let a salesperson get more excited about a guitar than you are. Don't let a salesperson talk you out of things that you are pretty convinced that you want. So I wanted a round shoulder. I wanted mahogany back and sides. I wanted a more subtle guitar. And so, fast forward, I now have a Huss and Dalton TDM that I really enjoy, and that's the right Huss and Dalton for me. I actually also just got another Huss and Dalton that you'll see a video about here shortly. That is it's a Huss and Dalton. It's a 2009 Huss and Dalton 00 SP. Anyway, so Joe, that's a long-winded answer to your question from the first question of the show, which was Whew. Thank you for the quick in-your review. Deleting it from my wish list on Amazon. No, it's gimmick, and the thing that psychs me out the most is that it's like I got warnings from my email and from Gmail and my phone, all saying like, do not go to these links, do not download this software, and as much as they say, yeah. Let's see. The Smart Guitar from Lag is an acoustic guitar that does effects without an amp. Oh, so it's oh wow, I just forgot. I have another guitar that I've had for over a year and a half. I have an Epiphone Pacifica, whatever it is. What is it? It's not a Pacifica. That's a Yamaha. It's a transacoustic. Transacoustic, transatlantic. But I have an Epiphone that has like the pickup and all the speaker built in with the effects, kind of like Tonewood. The Tonewood it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's cool. The thing that got me, and I did a review of it forever ago, like 2 years ago. The thing that got me with the Tonewood amp is that it's not louder than your guitar, and so it's very heavy, and it like you can hear it, but it's not. Anyway, it's just not quite what they represent it to be. Like they show like, whoa, it's like filling the room and I can hear it all around. Like I just didn't find that to be true. It was like cool but gimmicky. You got any experience with vintage Japan stuff? Ibanez, Tama, greetings from Germany. Hey Kim, so I do have some experience. So I have my Fender Pink Paisley. Can I move my mic? Can you see it? Is that it? No, you're seeing the one over there. I have one in the corner here that is a Japanese made in Japan Fender. Other than that, I've owned a bunch of Japanese made guitars, and they've all been really good. I think if you start kind of looking late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s, you get all the Taisco stuff. That stuff is cool, but all of the gold foil pickups are really cool, but all the wires are really, really thin and really delicate, so they just don't last very long as far as like the quality of them, but they do sound cool. And then the other stuff with all the lawsuit era, like Takamine, Ibanez, those are all cool. I like those. And the Takai, those are the ones that are so good. And Greco are also amazing. But yeah, lots of Japanese stuff. I mean, don't sleep on it. It's so good. Ever owned an Alvarez? Yes, the first 4 guitars I ever owned were Alvarez. They came from a shop here in Harrisonburg that's still around called Hometown Music. I traded away a very standard normal Slammer hammer. That was my brother's. He doesn't play. He said to get rid of it. I regret it just because it was my brother's, not that it was good, great, or valuable. I get that. There are whole reasons, like entirely different categories of reasons why you would regret. Nostalgia, reminiscing, where like the essentialism component of it, like this thing was. Like I miss certain guitars because they were just around when my kids were little babies, and I remember like we have pictures of like kids climbing and strumming on guitars, and maybe not climbing on, but like, and then ones that I've sold, I'm bummed, like, oh man, I wish we still had that guitar. So I totally get that. Would you trust buying a guitar from Sweetwater with their 55-point inspection? I absolutely would. I have bought so many guitars from Sweetwater. I have 2 right here. So this one, I haven't done a video on this one yet, but this is inspired by Gibson. This is a 59 that came from Sweetwater, and it plays really, really well. The other thing that's awesome with Sweetwater is just how good they are about returns. How good they are about returning things if you're not into it. The other one that came from Sweetwater is this one, which is my Guild Baritone. Actually, never mind. This one didn't come from Sweetwater. This one came from Guild directly. guitar is so cool. But yeah, so, I mean, Sweetwater is a regular... I still have been given, or like, most of the guitars that come to me from Sweetwater are part of brand deals. So, I'm getting them for... Usually I get the guitars, and I get paid a chunk of money to do a review or a first reaction or whatever. I've got some stuff coming tomorrow from Sweetwater. I have the Ruby top and the new UA pedals. So I have the Dream, which is basically a deluxe reverb pedal, like an amp pedal, and then I have a Vox AC30, the Ruby top, that are coming. So both are going to be good. I did have that AD17. I traded that for the Wright Lutherie slope shoulder, that and the Fender Acoustasonic, which I love the Acoustasonic. Is Greg Bennett and Samick no more? I can't find one. I don't know if they are no more. They're still certainly, the factory's there and they're still making guitars. They're making many, many guitars that are labeled other things. Like Samick. Oh boy. Here's a thing that I have been told by people that I trust who have shown me pictures. But like, Duesenberg is made by Samick. Now, that's hearsay. Strike. Hearsay. Overruled. I've been watching too much of the Johnny Depp trial. But yeah. So, Samick, still, the factory's still there in Korea and Indonesia. They're making plenty of guitars. And, yeah, so... Yeah, Sonia, I would. And, I mean, they have a great return policy as well. So, the guitars come set up really well. And if you don't like them, they'll quickly, I mean, almost like Amazon, just kind of return stuff. So, yeah, AD17 did come from Sweetwater as part of a brand deal, and it went away. Have I looked at mule guitars? I have. I've played a couple, and the guy who makes mules worked for Huss and Dalton, and I met him years ago when he worked at Huss and Dalton. But anyway, I think that's it. I have a couple guitars there for sale. That's obnoxious. Meant to have a background on that. So I'm going to lean in front of the bright parts. So, number one, I have a Schoenberg for sale. I have a bunch of stuff for sale this week. Schoenberg, it's expensive. No one will impulse buy this. It's $17,995. And I'll even do free shipping, throw in a t-shirt. And then I have a House Vintage OM. I have this Guild M20 Sunburst that is $1,200. I have a Wright Lutherie Maple Slope Shoulder for $3,000. Now I'll make a deal on that one. I have a Ferk Red Deluxe, and that one I have been meaning to make a video for months about. I also have a 68 Deluxe Reverb. Didn't put a price on that. Let's call it $2,500. I have a 72 Fender P-Bass that's refinished in red. Don't know a price on that one. Haven't meaning to get to that. And then I also have a Lawton Audio, a big diaphragm condenser for $1,000. I think they're $1,200 new. I literally use it to make one video. So, anyway. Have you ever had or played any of the E18 or E28 Martins from the early 80s? I haven't. I don't know about those. I think my HD23V, HD28V needs fretwork. Danny the best in the area. He really is. Who's this? Timma 707. He's both amazing, and he's also the only one I know right now because Mr. Ben Padgett has moved to Gallagher Guitars in Murfreesboro. I own a Lag, and it has many effects on the transacoustic, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The Silvertone reissues are made by Samick, I believe. So, okay, I remember an old Hofner bass violin. You sold to keep your business going. Yep. I got you, Tim. Yeah, man, I've sold many guitars to keep my family afloat. And I want to make a video about that, like how to avoid having a boom and bust guitar collection. I just haven't figured out how to articulate and kind of put those ideas together. I've also feel like I've just been making... Can I ask you this? Have I been making too many videos? Like, I feel like I'm trying to, like, I'm having lots of meaningful guitar stuff happen, but I still kind of find myself having more videos. What? Tim! Wait, so Tim, what do you need? Fretwork. Yeah, Danny's really good. Yeah. What about the D-42? Selling? I'm going to try and keep it. So, it's really, 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 really good. And, Tim, have you seen this? This guitar would be way up your alley. So this is D-42 from the custom shop at Martin. Has a Carpathian spruce on the top. Has really figured East Indian rosewood on the back and sides. Maple binding. Has the vertical Martin logo. And it is... Can I get it to focus? Don't focus on me. Focus on... I have to hide it in front of my face. But this guitar is just so good. Here's a conversation about FERC. So Zach says, wait, hold on. Saw that on the video. Okay, yeah. So Zach says, I'm curious about FERC. I ordered 2 FERC yellow GCR and both had finish cracks when you received them. Mine is, I just got this yellow deluxe. If you just got yours, it probably came on the same shipment. Mine is, I mean, immaculate. Just beautiful. And so this is the yellow deluxe. And so Western cedar on the top, and then East Indian rosewood on the back and sides. Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. That's hard. I would talk to if you talk to the guys, either your dealer should be able to help. I'm headed to FERC. They're flying me over and my wife to go to the factory in Czech Republic. So we'll be there. Sounds like there's a loose on your audio. This kills me. All right, so I'm going to put a calendar reminder to figure out another streaming software. So anyway, John says Acoustasonics are a cool gimmick, but great tone wood guitar. Got it. Loose connection. Okay. Acoustasonics, I feel like they're a gimmick for electric guitar players. For an acoustic guitar player, they hit so many of the things that people that I talk to every day want, especially like older guys. They have a bad back. They want a light guitar made by a company that they like, that sounds like a good acoustic guitar, that would be easy to carry, and it needs to be made in the U.S. or it needs to be made, well. So I think I don't know. I like the Acoustasonics a lot. I'm pretty bummed. I kind of regret that I got rid of both of the ones that I have. So anyway. All right, well, I got to wrap up the show. So this has been super fun. Make sure you hit a thumbs up on the video. That's incredibly helpful for me and the channel. And then also, if you want to think about becoming a channel member, did anyone answer? I said I'm making a bunch of videos. 3 videos is crazy, and a live show. I'm doing 4 videos this week. That's crazy. I just keep finding I have so much stuff to get out. So maybe I just need to lower the bar, raise the bar of what should be out there. Or I might just start putting extra stuff on just for patrons. That might be another idea too. And kind of build hey, there's some other stuff. There's extra stuff back behind. So anyway, last call for questions, comments, or slanderous remarks. Mr. Daniel Nadeem is coming down tomorrow for this guy. So, what do you know about this? So, this is a 1914 Gibson L3. Just crazy, crazy, crazy. So, I gotta go finish working on that one before the day's over. So, this is fun. Thanks for hanging out. Like I said, thumbs up. Tim, let's hang out, buddy. All right. Bye. Love you.